Hey everybody, how's it going? Barry here, and today we're going to be talking about the current Capture Festival mon, Alpaca. This is much later. Oh, cool. Or I should say, I'm recording this much later than I should have. I definitely should have done this way in advance, but I did need to get my hands on the skillbook values for light and dark Alpaca before I could talk about them because their skillbooks are new, I didn't have them, and they could have held potentially important changes, which they actually did. So let's go into it with fire, as we always do. And fire, if I'm to be completely honest, is the least desirable of all the alpacas, and we'll get into why, of course, as we go. Anyway, well, here's the Evo 1. And the Evo 2, and the Evo 3. And honestly, like, I know I'll probably get hate on this or whatever, but I was never a fan of Alpaca's design. I know, like, a lot of people were freaking out about it when it came out, but doesn't do it for me. Also, in case you don't know, Alpaca is a costume. There's, like, an actual other mon inside it. And apparently it's Arthur, I think. I think it says that in, like, the stories for one of the elements or something like that, that it's Arthur in the costume. But anyway, well, honestly, if that's true, like, that's sad, because, like, Arthur put on a costume and got worse. Anyway, here's the variant. I like the variant more than I like the regular. I think the color scheme is much better. Looking at the stats, it is a tank, and it does have pretty low HP for a Nat 3 tank. Normally we see at least, like, 35k. So it's quite low for what it is. Its attack and defense are also a little lower than usual as well. It'd be nice if they were like at 2k, but they're not too far below, so it's like it's okay. Overall stats they're mediocre at best. Looking at the skills, first off we'll start with the leader skills. So first off we have critical boost, crit rate up 15 to 20%, and it's elemental specific. And then on 3-star we have Buff Breaker, 100%, and it gets a 25% damage boost from skill books. And then on 5-star we have Sealed, 80% 3 turns. Skill books make it 90% and give a 20% damage boost there. Something I should mention, of course, Alpaca is a mon with a single target active skill, so no AoEs going on here, which would explain why its Seal has such high activation rates and amount of turns. On AoE, that would be pretty busted. But overall, in terms of Fire Alpaca, it's not that great just because of Buff Breaker. Buff Breaker is a essentially useless skill. There isn't anywhere where you really need it. I don't know. I guess you might want it for, like, Light Colossus to get rid of the recovery up. But, like, even then, it's not worth it at all. I don't know. Like, this is just me trying to think of a way to use Fire Alpaca, but, like, pretty much it's not a good mon. It would be so much better, or at least a little bit better, if its Seal was on its 3-star. So there's that, because then you could at least use the Seal reliably. But even though the Seal has such high activation rates because it's on 5-star, and it's only a single target, you need to wait till you get your bar full. It's too much RNG and whatever involved in getting its bar full to actually make use of Seal, which isn't an amazing skill. It's a good skill, but it's not an amazing one. So overall, I'd say Fire Alpaca is a hard pass, and know that means a lot, because I barely ever say skip a mon. If I've probably only said that for like 2 or 3 mons after making, I think this is the 58th video that I've made talking about these mons. So yeah, and only like 2 or 3 of them that I said are a hard pass. So take from that what you will. We're just going to move right on to water next. And scroll all the way down to here. There we are. And I just got this to Evo 3 the other day. So, woo. Here's the regular, the variant, I like the variant more, I guess. I think I like the ones with the darker fur schemes and then like the lighter hair rather than the reverse. I think it looks better like this way. Yeah. Looking at the stats, it is an attacker. It has a pretty good, actually, it's a really good attack stat for a Nat 3 attacker. We don't see much that go over 3k, so high attack stat, very nice. Its HP is okay, it's a bit middle of the road, and then its defense is actually really low. So if you do decide to end up using one, try to get some good defense subs to help you out with that. But anyway, let's go to the skills. So on 3-star we have Morale Boost. It's a 100% chance to fill the bar by 100% on crit. So it's the same 3-star skill that we see on mons like Wood Mushi and Fire Arthur, not Arthur, Hunter, sorry. And I know there's like 1 or 2 other mons that have that same skill, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. And then on that gets a 25% damage boost from skill books. And then on 5-star we have SP Siphon, 40%, also on crit, and 30%. Skill books make it 40% and give a 20% damage boost there. So this mon is interesting. It is a somewhat unique mon. Well, not unique, uncommon mon with its 3-star being able to get its bar full in a single turn, guaranteed, barring crit resistance. Which is nice, and then having a single target active, so it does do that extra damage there. Also very nice. So it is a pretty good mon for offense. The only thing that holds it back, besides its low defense stat and being an at 3, is that SP Siphon on 5-star single target isn't that great. We see it on Water Shinobi, who also has SP Siphon on his 5-star, and it's pretty just subpar, you know? If it was AoE, like, it takes 40, so with Alpaca right here, with skill books, it takes 40% from a single enemy, which is fine, but it'd be better if it was AoE and it took 10% from everybody it hit, because then you could take away the SP bars for 4 mons, even if it's only 10%. You know, you still have 4 mons not being able to use their active on that turn. So, this is, like, it's kind of, what is the expression? Give and take, or double-edged sword. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. So it gets extra damage from being a single target, but its 5-star skill isn't that great because it's a single target. So there's that. But if you do want to use it, you can. You can use it in PvP. That's really the only place where it'll shine, or at least do decent. And more specifically in the Nat 1 to 3 League, whenever that gets released. Won't do too great on the regular league, just because we don't see too many fire mons on defense. And with Alpaca's stats, he's not going to be doing much damage. So, like, speaking of, in terms of, like, attacking mons, like, that's the super tanky mons that we see there. But if you were to build it fully offensively, it is crit required, so you need a square slot, which it is farmable, so you can easily get one with a square. Make sure you're farming, I think it's hard level story stages, if you want to water one. And yeah, crit rate attack, crit rate attack, crit damage, something like that. You know, depending on your set, you can switch your gems around. You don't really need a survivability gem, you'd rather get them from trinkets. But if you do want to put a survivability gem on there, you can go like crit rate, attack, defense, or something like that. Defense over HP for sure, just because its defense is so low, it needs a lot of work there. But anyway, let's move on to Wood, the last of the Nat 3 alpacas, and arguably one of the best of like all of them. Which I did not build this one yet because I had no use for it. The first time Alpaca came around, I already had my 2 Evo 3 Wood Pinolos, so I didn't bother going for it. But if you don't have them, this is a very good mon for you. Anyway, here's the regular, and also the variant. I kind of like the variant more. Yeah. So, looking at the stats, this one is also an attacker, and its attack is a little bit lower than Water's, but it is still pretty good for Nat 3. Its HP is a little higher, also good. and its defense I think is a bit lower. Its defense is abysmal, which sucks. But anyway, it can be remedied a little bit. So on 3-star we have Water Hunter, 50%. Skill books give a 25% damage boost, and then on 5-star we have Unflinching Strike. It is crit required, and it gets a 25% damage boost from skill books there. So, oh, sorry about that. A cat knocked over a lamp in the other room. Wanted to point out, this is a very good candidate for the variant. If you decide to make if you only end up getting like one variant alpaca, wood alpaca is definitely a top contender for one to use it on, just because that crit leader skill is pretty good in Titans, which is where you're going to want to use wood alpaca. That's where it'll definitely shine the most. It can be used in PvP when we get the 1 to 3 league. And maybe, where else would you want to use it? No, that's about it. Those two places are the only places where it'll be really useful. If you use in PvP, it's only because it's 5-star and it's 3-star being used against like heavy water teams. But in Titans, it'll do very well just because getting that 50% boost for its hunter on its 3-star consistently is very good. And then when it hits its 5-star, whenever it gets an orb, it's going to be doing single target damage, which is nice, and then unflinching strike damage, which is also nice. So very good there. In comparison to other wood unflinching strike, crazy strike mods, wood alpaca is probably the weakest of the bunch. Probably. I could be wrong. I could be forgetting something. Or I could be forgetting like a terrible one. Oh, you know what? Wood alpaca would probably be second last. I think wood Jiangshi would be a little bit worse. But yeah, you definitely want to use it in your Titans teams. Build it offensively. Crit rate attack, crit rate attack, crit damage. It is crit required. Definitely needs a square slot. Make sure you get one or build up one that has it. Then let's move on to light. Now, light is a tricky one to talk about, or not to talk about, to decide what you want to do with it. Here it is. All right, here's the regular and the variant. I like the variant. The variant's cute. It's got all that pink. Very nice. Stat-wise, it is a balanced type. Has pretty good HP. Actually, its HP is actually pretty high for a balanced type. And its defense is like kind of middle of the road. Its attack is low though, so keep that in mind. Looking at the skills, so on 3-star we have shock, 50% 2 turns, and then on 5-star we have stun, 50% 2 turns. Skill books make them both 70% and give a 20% damage boost. And where you'd want to use it, really this would only be usable in PvP and certain floors of Tower of Chaos. The one thing that really does hold it back though, is that its active is only single target. If it was a AoE active, that'd be pretty good. It'd be really good actually. 70% 2 turn stun. It's amazing. Well, not amazing, but it's really good. And then it's 3-star, very good as well. It is the same, after books, it is the same skill level as things like Light Thor and Light Pandora. I believe they only go up to 70%. But of course, I believe those mods are also a lot tankier in terms of their stats. And they have AoE active. Well, Thor has an AoE active, and Pandora has dominance. So they have other utilities there. But something also worth noting is that Alpaca skillbooks are based on the 3-stars, so they're a lot easier to obtain. So that's another thing to keep in mind. If you're to use it, there are 2 ways you can go about it. So when using it for PvP, you can throw it on your defense team. It'll do okay. It won't be super amazing, but it'll be pretty nice. And build a tanky, so HP defense, or HP defense. Either of those can work there, and its job will be to just survive hits and spread CC. You can also try a bruiser build like that, just so it'll have a little bit more of an offensive presence, but with its low attack set, it won't be doing much. With 1 attack gem, it doesn't even scratch 4k attack, I think. Actually, I think it just barely does. Yeah, so looking it up with a calculator, it has 4,000 and 1314 attack with just one attack gem, depending on how they round the decimal. So nothing crazy there, but an alternative build you can go with is a more offensive build and just like use it on attack and just spread CC there. Keep in mind you will be facing mons with like a lot of resist, but you know, resist down is a thing, so it's definitely interesting there. And then also you can make better use of its stun because you'll be able to choose who to use it on. So there's that. It's definitely an interesting mon, but doesn't really get too far, you know? Oh, and if you're to build it offensively, just for future reference for yourself, with 2 attack gems, it has just over 5.6k attack, and then with, let's see, 3 attack gems, it's just over 7.2k. So, just for your own reference, I wouldn't build it with crit rate. It has no need for it, so. But anyway, let's move on to the last of the alpacas, Dark Alpaca. Here we are. And here's the variant. I like this one because it's purple. Looking at the stats, Dark Alpaca is an attacker, has a really good attack stat, well, pretty good attack stat. It's somewhat middle of the road for Nat 4s. Its HP, however, is pretty low, and its defense is actually pretty good. So, there's that. Going on to the skills now. We have Stun on 3 stars, 70% 1 turn. Skill books make it 2 turns, give a 20% damage boost. Then on 5 star we have Elemental Edge, and skill books give a 30% damage boost there. So, where you want to use it, PvP or Tower of Chaos, it can be used in either of those places. PvP, really you'd only want to use it on offense. It won't do too well on defense just because it doesn't have very survivable stats, and it's 5 stars damage base, so you're going to want to build it offensively. But having a 2-turn stun on your 3 star is always nice, even for offense. So even if you're going against high resist teams, you know, there's a chance you can land it. But then its main selling point is just having a very high damaging 5-star skill. So I guess you can also use it for Titans as well, like early on, just as a dark attacker. But it'll definitely fall off very quickly. But its main place is PvP offense, and it'll do alright there. How I would build it up just offensively, it is a Dark Mon, but it is not crit required, so you don't need a square. Though, of course, being a Dark Mon with its base 100 crit damage, you're going to want to build it with crit rate, so I'd recommend crit rate attack, crit rate attack, crit damage. Well, no, crit rate attack, I think would be better. But if you're unlucky and you don't manage to fuse one with a square slot, you can always just go triple attack, something like that. So just know that there are options available to you. Is it worth a reroll if you end up getting one without a square? I don't think so. Like, it'll be a lot better with a square, but overall, the potential of the mon isn't super high to where, like, if you don't have your Dark Alpaca with a square, you're gonna do poorly in the game or whatever. It's nothing like that. So don't bother with getting a reroll for it unless you absolutely want to use Dark Alpaca. But anyway, that is it for all the alpacas. I don't have any built to showcase them for you. If I'm to rank them all, so first I would put wood just because it is very usable. It has a place where it does really well. Whereas with light, dark, well, the next in the order I would put light and then dark. With both of them, they do have a place where they do okay, but there's nowhere where they do really well, you know? Whereas wood does very well in Titans. Then, in the 4th slot, I would put water, just because both of its skills are good. They're pretty good. And then fire is last, just because buff breaker is absolutely useless. So, yeah. That is it for the alpacas. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all of that. Hit the bell if you want to stay notified on all future videos and whatnot. Have yourselves a good day, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.